And so we have Dave Fair, who is our toxicologist here, and Nina DiConcini, and from Multnomah County,
Tricia Tillman.
Tricia Tillman. Yes, sorry.
How do you spell your name, please?
TRICIA TILLMAN.
T-I-L-L?
MAN.
What's your title,
Pick her
please?
up with the microphone. She's-
Oh, okay.
Oh, I can move over.
When you guys get
The talking.
I think we just have to be real close to
Yeah, that's
What's your
fine.
title, please?
Public Health Director,
For Multnomah County.
Multnomah County.
Thank you.
And so we'll just let them kick it off. Nina?
Okay, so first and foremost, thank you all for being here on such short notice. As you know, this is a rapidly developing situation, and DEQ and our partners' bias is to try to provide information as quickly or expeditiously as we have it, based on the accuracy that we know. We're here. There is uncertainty regarding what we're about to share, what we're sharing now, but we felt it was important, based on the conversations we've been having with both of the two glass manufacturers, to provide the information as we know it. And so we very much appreciate your being here. So I don't know, do you want me to give a quick rundown? All of you have a copy of the news release. Would it be more efficient to have you ask questions? I just would like to ask what people's preferences are.
Yeah, maybe just give us a brief rundown of what this all means.
Sure. So I think most of you covered the public meeting on Tuesday night at Cleveland High School, or your outlets covered that meeting. And as you know, we have begun additional sampling for both soil and air collection, both in Southeast Portland, as well as we are preparing to do so in North Portland, as a result of the collaboration that DEQ has been conducting with our partners, as well as the U.S. Forest Service. And many of you saw Jeff Donovan speak at the meeting on Tuesday night, so that you know, you have the background, I think, on that. So based on the questions about chromium at that meeting, we felt it was important to check with both of the glass manufacturers about their use of chromium. And so during this week, we've received information from what are called material safety data sheets, MSDS sheets, and those are basically a rundown of the kinds of products and whatever they're using in their processes. And when we saw that chromium compounds were listed, that led us to ask them a few more questions. And so one important distinction that's not in this press release that I want to talk about is the permitting program that DEQ has for hazardous air pollutants is adopted from the federal program. And that program does not require companies who are permitted to differentiate between families or groups of compounds. So for example, in this particular case with chromium, you can have hexavalent chromium, or chromium-6, and trivalent chromium, chromium-3. And as the news release indicates, it has a significantly higher degree of toxicity. So as we receive information from the companies as part of their permitting, as part of our permitting of them, we didn't have this level of differentiation. Our sampling plan is going to have that level of differentiation. So the work we're doing currently with our air and soils in Southeast Portland, and what we will be doing in North Portland, will gather that information. But just like the Moss study is not an indication of what people are actually breathing, this monitoring is going to give us significantly more data to know what's in the air and what the impacts might be. Also important is that we reached out to both of the companies based on this uncertainty, and we asked them, because of the data that we have about cadmium and arsenic, knowing that we would likely have emissions of other metals, to voluntarily suspend their use of chromium. And so Bullseye Glass has agreed to do so for hexavalent chromium, the compound that is higher toxicity, and then Ouroboros has agreed to suspend use of all chromium. Ouroboros does not use arsenic, but both companies have agreed to suspend cadmium, which I think you all know. So the sequence of events is, this week we got the material safety data sheets on Monday and Wednesday from each company. Yesterday we asked them to voluntarily suspend their use, and we got commitments from both of them this morning. So that's why we felt it important to provide this information, even if we don't have all of it now. So when I pause there, and I don't know if David or Tricia want to add anything?
From the health side, the toxicological side, I can just add that, or sort of reiterate that there are these two types of chromium. Chromium 3 is the most common type and is actually an essential nutrient. All of us have chromium 3 in us. It's important for health to have enough chromium 3. Chromium 6 is the less common one, and that one does have a much higher toxicity than chromium 3. So the information that we have from DEQ right now isn't specific enough to know how much of the total chromium that was measured at Bullseye is hexavalent or chrome 6. So we're uncertain about how much that may increase the risk to the people living around there.
So essentially, the question was raised at the meeting, could there be other metals that you guys haven't checked for? That's how chromium got into the mix? I guess I just want to make sure how I understand that.
So could you repeat the question?
So I just want to make sure I understand how chromium got thrown into the mix. It was suggested at the meeting that maybe there was worry it could be there, or?
Yes, and we are trying to look at a variety of different metals as a part of the additional sampling we're doing, and this is one of those metals.
And I don't know if you can speak to it, but if chromium-6 is in the air, what kind of concerns or health concerns does that bring to residents?
Right, I can answer that question. So at the levels that we're talking about here, the most significant health risk would be an increased risk in lung cancer. So it sort of adds to the risk from the arsenic and cadmium for cancer risk. At much higher concentrations, concentrations that are thousands of times higher than even the total chromium measured at Bullseye, there are other effects also, more acute respiratory irritation and skin irritation symptoms. But the concentrations measured at the 30-day monitor wouldn't be high enough to cause those symptoms, even if it were 100% chrome 6.
And at this point, we don't know if that
Correct.
chromium test is 6 or 3.
Correct.
Right. Most likely it's some mix. In most industrial settings, it's typically a mixture. Usually with chrome 3 being the more dominant,
Right.
but like Nina said, we don't know that for sure.
And we don't
in this
know that,
case.
and because the material safety data sheets indicated that both companies use hexavalent, the more toxic type, that created the uncertainty for us. And because we do have data that we think is very reliable and conclusive for the other two metals, cadmium and arsenic, that led us to this determination.
You said Eurobros will suspend use of hexavalent chromium, but Bullseye is still pending?
No, so it's the opposite. Bullseye has agreed to suspend use of hexavalent chromium. Ouroboros has agreed to suspend use of all chromium compounds. So that would be this mix of both the 3 and the 6.
And there's no benchmark standards for chromium.
So those are two different, so that you've combined, so there are benchmarks and there are standards, and they're two different.
Okay.
So standards are established at the federal level that it can actually have a tether to permitting. The health-based goals or benchmarks are what DEQ has adopted as a state for health goals.
Okay.
So they're very different, and they do not have any regulatory trigger necessarily.
Okay, so there's no benchmark then for chromium?
So there is a benchmark for
Sorry.
chromium
Okay.
6, but there's not one for for total chromium.
Okay.
And so if all of the chromium that had been measured were chrome 6, it would be above the benchmark concentration.
How far?
If all of it were there, then it would be. I'd have to get back to you with the exact number, but
These are good questions.
more than 10.
More than 10
So-
nanograms per cubic
No,
meter?
more than 10
10
times
Times.
the benchmark.
What's the federal reg on chromium? What's the level of federal regulation?
I don't know the answer to that, Dan. I can get that for you. I don't know.
How long will this air monitoring process?
Dave, do you know the federal reg on?
Not as it relates to permitting, no, not the regulatory standard.
And there's no one here at this DEQ press conference who could tell us that.
I can follow up with you very quickly.
When when are you gonna follow up?
Depending on when, if you can wait, I can potentially do it after this, but I don't have that.
That would be fine.
Okay, so the federal reg for chromiums, total chromium or chrome 6?
If it's broken down
Okay.
for both, if it's a total chromium, whatever the federal reg says, I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Well,
the only legal.
Right, and it's this mixture. It's
I
this.
understand, that's the only legal hammer you have,
Right,
because the
yep.
ABCs are goals.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Can you explain the difference between cadmium and chromium? Because you were saying that it could potentially lead to, more issues of lung cancer. Well, what's the difference between the two, I guess?
Well, they're just two different elements, the two different types of metal.
And how long will the air monitoring process take?
Oh, sorry, I'll be right back. I can do this for Dan while we're in all, that's the extension. So, the duration of the air monitoring. I think, well, I want to confirm because I think the soils and air may be on a different track, so can I confirm that with you? I can't answer that right here, but I can find that out. Jennifer's going to do that.
But this has already started.
Oh, yeah, both soils and air in the southeast location has, and we're readying the monitoring plan for North Portland right now.
What does that
Have any soil samples been taken in or around Bullseye Glass?
I don't know the exact location, Rob, of all the sites, but that's where they are in southeast Portland. Yeah, but I don't know.
Have any soil samples been taken around there
Well-
during the 8 months that you all have known?
Oh,
about?
no, I don't know. I don't believe so. No soil samples. That's part of this
And you all
effort.
are acting on this 8 months after learning about this tree moss data because people asked questions about it at a community meeting, and it didn't occur to you all to exact this line of inquiry yourselves sometime in those interceding 8 months?
So I'll repeat what I said initially: is the moss data was not indicative of what people are breathing. So it's very good information, and it led us to put the monitor based on where the moss study revealed the higher levels. And so that process took multiple months, and then in late January, we actually got the final data that confirmed those levels of cadmium and arsenic.
Given the significant delays that have plagued this process, can Oregonians, can Portlanders trust that DEQ is acting in people's best interest and trying to protect public health in this circumstance?
Yes, and I very much appreciate that question and Portlanders and Oregonians' demand for that commitment from us. Monitoring takes a much longer time than people would expect. And so I want to make it clear to all of you that this moss study was groundbreaking. To our knowledge, this hasn't really been done. The combination of using the plant, we've never used plants to make a determination about the implications for public health. So the fact that the Forest Service, which we're really grateful for, approached us for this collaboration gave us very good direction in which we could put the monitors out and get the data that we needed to come to the conclusions about the high levels.
I'm sorry not to belabor this point.
That's
but
okay.
No soil sampling has been done.
To my knowledge, no.
I believe at Cleveland High School, Ryan with the DEQ said that there hadn't been any tests done prior to the results that came in May. When we have these companies using these types of materials, is it not commonplace to do any kind of regular testing annually, every 5 years, anything like that?
So our air quality program, because of the difference, I think you asked about the standards versus the benchmarks. The standards that are established in the Federal Clean Air Act require communities of a certain size to have ongoing monitors because pollutants like lead and volatile organic compounds and sulfur dioxide and ozone and what else am I missing here? Dave, it's
Did
the
you
big
say
six.
lead?
I said lead, sulfur dioxides. Oh, NOx, oxides of nitrogen. Those are established, and if there are exceedances of those standards, communities have to determine what strategies they have to implement. So, like vehicle inspections. Like most of you go to our vehicle inspections. There's permitting commitments that might change as a result of those if you go over the standards. With respect to these benchmarks, it's an emerging science and it's new science. Air toxics is tough and difficult. And to our knowledge, there aren't a lot of states that have approached toxics problem in this same way, where we're looking at an airshed and looking at all these high priority air contaminants. So the process that we used included an advisory committee with lots of different stakeholders, and we identified a lot of priority, 5 high priority pollutants: benzene, polyaromatic hydrocarbons, metals emissions, wood smoke, and diesel particulate. So those 5 were the biggies, and we haven't implemented many regulatory actions as a result of that process, and certainly this research and the
Have you initiated any regulatory? You said not many. Have you initiated any?
Can I finish the thought? Yeah, in just a second, Dan. This research has revealed and daylighted for us areas where we need to look more closely at our permitting program to determine how we might address these localized areas where there are emissions that are of concern. So the majority of the work that we've done, Dan, and everyone, has been mostly voluntary. We've gotten school buses, school districts, tugs to do voluntary diesel retrofits, for example. Washington County just adopted a wood smoke ordinance. These are big. I mean, the wood smoke you can ask Dave and Tricia about the impact to lungs and to breathing from particulate matter from wood smoke. And then the legislature attempted 2 different bills in the last session on diesel that were ultimately unsuccessful. So there have been some attempts to look at those 5 category pollutants, and this particular one on metals, that's where we partnered with U.S. Forest Service and with our partners represented here to get better data and get this. And it's really important that you don't just jump from moss collection to what people are breathing. Moss does not suggest what the concentrations are in air. It takes painstaking time and good science to develop the monitoring protocols and to get them tested and to get the data back. And it's hard to balance the need for speed and communication, and I really respect what you're asking about, Rob, with the need to be accurate. So, yeah,
The governor was
Catherine.
pretty adamant about her request for a timeline, what you guys knew, when you knew it, what your next steps are.
Yes.
We just checked in with them this afternoon. They say they're still waiting. Can you give us an idea of your effort to answer that request?
Yes, I certainly can. We do have a timeline that's up, but there are some current refinements because we have updates to that information, and we hope to have it done over the weekend and posted and sent out.
You've not sent a response to the governor's office?
We have not. No, not yet.
Are you guys concerned by another toxin potentially in the mix?
Absolutely, absolutely, we are.
Do you feel the public should be concerned hearing this now?
Yes, and we want to be very careful about how we share information so that it doesn't create alarm if it isn't needed. But that's why we're doing it today and not 3 weeks from now or 4 weeks from now when we have the sampling data. We think it's important, and we asked these 2 companies if they were willing to voluntarily suspend their use, and they've agreed to do that, and we sincerely appreciate it.
Could there be more?
Possibly, we don't know yet.
What's this mean for other glass companies around the state? I mean, are you going to be focusing in on some of their emissions and so forth? I mean,
Yes, we will. We are in the process of researching not just other glass companies, but maybe other facilities. And I think all of you know there's lots of unpermitted sources out there where we don't have any tether, no connection to. And so that's also of concern. And that's nationally. That's not just Oregon. We also feel very strongly that there needs to be a look at this nationally because, there are places all over the country where this might be an issue, and hopscotch or one-off efforts in each state may not be the most efficient way to do it.
Is there anything Oregon can do on a more local level to implement regulations or change permitting processes?
Yes, and that's actually, Catherine was asking about our response to the governor, and that's what we're in the process of formulating now, our specific suggestions about what the state could do to implement programs that would address this particular issue. And, if you look at diesel particulate, how the cadmium circle is, a red spot. The diesel particulate circle is the entire Portland region. And so I don't say that as an alarmist. I say that to make people aware that there are pollutants in our environment that are ubiquitous, and many of them come from what we do. Each of us do every day: drive cars, operate wood stoves, fireplaces. I'm not suggesting that this metals issue isn't important, but it's part of a larger picture, and that's why DEQ and the state agreed to look at air toxics in an airshed or holistic level as opposed to individually.
Five quick questions, if I might.
Okay.
Just for purposes I ID you correctly, what's your title, please?
Certainly. So Nina DeConcini, DE, capital CONCINI. I'm the DEQ Northwest Region Administrator, so that means I'm the Senior Manager for the Portland metro area and the north coast of the state.
Okay, that's one. No, I'm going to get 5 questions, if I
Can you
might.
spell your first name?
Oh, of course.
Sound
Nina,
over.
Nina.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, the governor had a deadline of today for releasing this report. You're missing that deadline. What was the governor's response when you told her that?
I actually don't know the governor's response. However, because of this new development and this new information and the need we had and felt strongly about in terms of communicating it, we have asked for a slight delay in that response, and it has been granted.
And when do you think you'll get your response to them?
This weekend.
This
So it will
weekend.
be this weekend.
Okay, number 3, please. You stated twice that your investigation and interaction with the companies regarding cadmium was prompted by questions at the community forum.
Chromium, you mean?
Chromium, correct.
Yes.
Chromium was prompted by questions at the community forum, Cleveland
Yes.
High School. As Rob asked, is it appropriate for laypersons in the community to be directing DEQ's pseudo-enforcement activities with these companies?
Well, I would respectfully reject that premise
You
because
stated it twice. I'm
The-
quoting you as saying that.
I did not. What I said was what I reject, Dan, respectfully, is the pseudo enforcement comment, because I think
Okay,
that's
we can skip
ascribing.
that. Let's
That's
look at-
ascribed, but it's important because that's ascribing motive, and I don't think it's pseudo
That was a
enforcement.
cheap shot.
Okay, thank
The
you.
community prompted your interaction with the companies vis-a-vis Chromium.
Mm-hmm.
You've stated that twice. Is that appropriate for laypersons in the community to be directing DEQ's interaction in this situation?
We think it's appropriate to have influence from many stakeholders and interested parties in how we run our regulatory program. I don't think it's exclusively the public's responsibility, but the fact remains that DEQ can write all the rules and change statutes all we want, and if we don't have cooperation from companies and Oregonians where the contributions come from them, we can't have a clean environment. And so, and I don't say that as a flippant or exaggerated response. I mean, Oregonians are every bit as necessary to environmental protection as environmental regulatory agencies.
Okay, number 4, please. The Mercury has learned that there was a soil sample obtained at Cleveland High School, a single soil sample of 10.9 milligrams of cadmium per kilogram of dirt. Can you confirm that?
I can, but not at this exact moment. I can't, I don't know.
Do you have any sense that there have been this single higher reading taken at Cleveland, which is more than 5 times the 2 milligram per kilogram level that requires remediatory action in the state of Washington?
Again, I can't confirm. I would have to investigate further for you.
I'm asking your reaction to a potential soil level of that. I've confirmed it.
Right, so our soil levels are different than our air levels, obviously, and we do have screening values and levels in the soil above which we would require certain kinds of remediation, like removal or capping or whatever it would be. So that would be part of our cleanup program, Dan, and as soon that's why I could have someone tell you, what the remediation requirement would be.
I'll express to the room at large that the Mercury is quite certain that 10.9 milligrams of cadmium per kilogram of soil found at Cleveland High School. Last question for now. And I reserve the right to ask more.
Of course.
Previously, you stated a moment ago that You spoke of DEQ regulatory activities in regard to the 5 big substances, and you said that many of them.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me one regulatory enforcement activity you've done.
So I'm sorry if I left that impression. We have not pursued any regulatory implementation of those PATS recommendations. Those that I described have been voluntary. The diesel retrofit, the wood smoke ordinances. Actually, there is one, and I don't know if any of you remember the issue of the higher levels of benzene in our gasoline because of the
smaller gas stations.
Well, this is because there's naturally higher occurring benzene in our crude because we don't refine it here and we get it from Alaska. And at the time, a certain Oregonian reporter had expressed, questions to us about, hey, what's going on with this benzene? And it was a federal EPA rule that was going to allow this higher level of benzene. DEQ objected to it, but with the intervention of a number of congressional players, I believe it was then Congressman Earl Blumenauer and Senator Wyden, there was a pretty significant intervention, and the benzene level it was reduced based on what DEQ had objected, the levels that DEQ had objected to. No, so we didn't affect that exclusively, but that's an example of a regulatory change that was made, and benzene is one of the high priority categories in PATS, Portland air toxics.
So we keep hearing a lot of people saying, that they're concerned obviously with the air quality, but we also keep hearing that it's within federal requirements or whatever for glass companies and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think those federal requirements need to be changed? Is that the change people need to see for better air?
It's among the things that DEQ could explore and the state of Oregon could explore to address the current situation where we have adopted the hazardous air pollutant federal requirements that have this requirement that they only report like the compound families. For example, Washington and California have their own hazardous air pollutant state requirements. So yes, that is something that could be explored most certainly.
Have you done any review to see whether there are other companies, other industrial sources in the region, in the state, that could be using Chromium-6 and putting it out of their smokestacks without any kind of filtration?
So and that's part of what the research we need to do, Rob, with respect to the permitted sources, and then the need to look at what they're using. So those that are using hexavalent chromium that are permitted to do so are, that's something we check in terms of their permitting relationship with us. So I don't think I answered the question. Sorry, I think I might have lost the train there. Sorry.
Obviously, this is raising alarms for people
Of
who
course.
live near these two glass manufacturers.
Yes.
And my question is, are there other sources potentially like them in the city or in the state that we don't know about, or that you all have not yet identified that people should be concerned about?
We're in the process of compiling that list now.
So what other types of industries?
Chrome platers, for example.
Okay, so glass factories, chrome platers.
Mhm. There are others that have kind of phased out, and this is where I'm, getting out of my depth that I have to, honestly acknowledge. But that is something but chrome platers are among the others that use it.
So the two companies have voluntarily stopped using these materials. If the tests come back concerning levels, would you ask them to do so permanently, or is that outside of your authority?
We would check the data, we'd look at what it is, and that's why, we can't make a conclusive determination. We're doing this with the uncertainty that we currently have. So it would be premature to speculate about what we might do once we get the soil and air samples back.
Do you know how much this is impacting them in the meantime, voluntarily halting their production?
Yes, I don't know personally, but we do expect there are impacts to their businesses as a result of this, yes, because it's the pigment they use, and that's anything that's used, hexavalent chromium is used for pigments.
Does DEQ have a time frame? Have you taken soil samples at this point? When are they going to be back? When should neighbors expect to see those results?
I have to check. We have begun the sampling process for soil in Southeast Portland. We're in the process of setting up the monitoring plan that will include air and soil for North Portland. And I don't know the duration specifically, Robert. That is something I can easily get for you. I don't have it off the top of my head.
When do you think North Portland's gonna go online?
My hope is it will be next week.
So I apologize because I got.
No, of
so I
course,
missed
certainly.
this. But when did DEQ find out that the two glass companies have been using Chromium in addition to this?
So I actually integrally, bless you, I was integrally involved, so I can tell you Monday, we asked Bullseye to provide their material safety data sheets information. We got that late Tuesday. On Wednesday, we asked Ouroboros to provide the same, and we got that at the end of Wednesday. And yesterday, we asked both companies to voluntarily suspend their use. That's the chronology.
You said in that chronology that this line of inquiry came out of the Tuesday night meeting, so how did you ask one of the companies the day before about potential line of inquiry on Chromium?
I think we asked for the material safety data sheets just generally, not necessarily for Chrome. I think that's what we looked at once we got them, because I think we got them late Tuesday before we went to the meeting, because it started early, so I think we left at 4 o'clock to go to the meeting. It's all been this week.
Where's the location you anticipate for the North Portland test?
That is among the details being worked out in the monitoring plan right now. Because as I think, actually I don't know if we talked about that on Tuesday night, but establishing a monitor is not like, okay, you go out and you throw up the equipment. You have to have a power source. You have to get the landowner's permission. It has to be a certain distance from trees and other buildings. You have to have, there's all these considerations that you have to have. So that's part of what we're doing in this setup for the North Portland sites.
Do you see, not to downplay the importance of it, but if these companies aren't using these compounds anymore, what are you going to find in the air?
If they're not using the compounds anymore.
Portland Public Schools did
Right.
air testing in the schools after the companies stopped using the compounds. They
Right.
found nothing, which is of no surprise. So what good is it going to be to monitor the air now after they have stopped using them?
Because I think there are some other metal compounds, and I don't know all of them, but I think there are other metal compounds we're looking at. The soils, that's part of the reason we've added the soils component to this plan, to get that data.
Do you know how long these kind of metals stay in the air?
Ooh, I don't. Do you know the answer to that, Dave?
I've heard Dave Monroe say it many
Yeah, I
times.
Sorry, I don't know.
But I have heard him say many times that it this time of year would ventilate pretty quickly,
Because
and it
of
would
atmospheric ventilation.
it would clear about at the same rate as the cadmium and arsenic.
It's a matter of hours.
Yeah.
What other components compounds are you testing for? You mentioned that you're trying to maybe find a variety of.
Yeah, so I think nickel is among the group. Gosh, I'm sorry, Catherine, I can get you, I just don't have it off the top of my head.
Can you tell me why DEQ has not released all of the data, all of the maps, the information that I've requested, that you all have from the Forest Service?
So the Forest Service information you can get from the Forest Service. I don't think we're withholding it. I don't think we have it.
You are withholding it. I've asked for it from your agency and I've not gotten it.
So I'm not aware of that. Have you asked for it from the Forest Service? I'm not sure why.
They've referred questions to you all.
Okay, so I'll follow up.
So the company has a air quality permit, right?
Mhm, yes.
And wouldn't you have knowledge that they were emitting chromium as part of that air quality permit?
Yes, and I think you missed this definitional distinction that's really important. So the current air quality permit that both companies have with DEQ reflects the hazardous air pollutant federal regs that DEQ implements as a state. And those regulations do not differentiate between the types of chromium, for example, and they don't differentiate in families like arsenic or cadmium either. So the reporting that they've done for their entire use of chromium compounds, which includes the 3 trivalent and the 6 hexavalent, is meeting the levels. This is the distinction we're trying to get now between the two, because we're aware that through the material safety data sheets that they use the hexavalent as a raw material.
But I guess why wouldn't you have looked into that, given what was coming out of all of this testing?
Based on what we saw with the cadmium and arsenic, that's what drove us to do this. They're in compliance with the federal regs and ours because of the way that the current program is set up.
Can we do 2 more questions?
May I
We
ask,
can do that.
may I ask
Everybody's
you,
outside.
I don't think you should limit questions here. There's a lot of questions.
Let's do 2 more questions,
May-
then we'll, Dan,
May I
and
ask-
then we'll move it outside. If we
May
can.
I ask, do you live in Portland?
I don't, to live in the Tualatin area.
Okay, as a resident of the state of Oregon, what's your opinion of the fact that there was a published report last night that Bullseye had annual sales of $19.8 million, and the cost of pollution control equipment amortized over the life of this equipment is 33 grand a year or less. 19.8 million bucks up here, annual sales. That's not profits, that's revenues. Cost of pollution control, a small fraction of that.
Right.
Do you think, given those parameters, that they had an obligation to just slap this stuff on their stacks when it became available back in the 80s?
I can't comment on the company's decision to choose emission control technology.
They had none on their stacks, that's the point.
If they're in compliance, and this is part of some of the questions people have asked about what this daylights for us and what this might reveal with respect to what we do now, that would be in the mix.
What does that mean? That would be
That would be part of if the state of Oregon decided to implement a hazardous air pollutant program, a component of that might include more aggressive pollution control technology.
So you don't have any opinion on the matter yourself?
I don't have any opinion on the matter myself, no.
Any questions for
I'm
Dave
sorry.
Fair or Tricia Tillman? with
I
Multnomah County?
have one last question. Sorry. I have one last question.
Sure.
Why did you all wait till 5 o'clock on Friday afternoon to announce this stuff?
So there's no, I promise there's no, what's the word I want? A subterfuge at all. It took us until today to get the commitment from the companies. We asked yesterday, and as I think you can probably imagine, this has an impact on their businesses. This was not like oh sure, we'll do that. They, I think, had to reflect on what this will mean for them, and we essentially just got the answer like late this afternoon. So that's why.
Is there anything the DEQ could have done if they said, hey, we're not going to suspend the use of these metals?
Potentially. So we haven't gone that route yet, but we could have explored certain statutory authority, but we are pleased that they have agreed to voluntarily make that commitment.
So let me jump in and just share Multnomah County Health Department and our partners. We're all very deeply concerned about this issue because we are responsible as the local public health authority for protecting the health of our community, and we do serve tens of thousands of individuals directly through our safety net clinics and through the care we provide to mothers and children and other vulnerable individuals in our community. So it's really important to us. We were all at the forum on Tuesday in Southeast Portland, and it was very important for us to also do a community forum in North Portland for the communities that are impacted there as well. So we did want to make sure and underscore that there will be a community forum next Thursday, February 18th at Tubman School. From 5 to 9 p.m. We say 9 p.m., but we'll be there until all the questions are answered, because there are a lot of questions that people are raising about what to do about their health, the health of their children, the health of their communities, the people that they serve. So we want to make sure that as the situation evolves, that people have the information that they need to make decisions to support their health.
Rob, did you have one more follow-up? I thought you did.
Any other questions?
I I think just knowing when the results will come back, which you said you check after.
Yeah,
the meeting, right?
yes.
Okay.
In fact, I don't know if Jennifer's still here, but hopefully. Have you received any information about when the monitoring is going to be complete? Okay. Yes, we'll do that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And the EPA regs on?
Yep, on HAPS.
There are no standards, they're all combined. There isn't a standard for that particular one.
But you're
For
asking
which
about the level
particular-
for chromium, right? Weren't you
Right.
asking? Yeah, so we would like to know, even though they're combined, what the standard is for chromium.
George
Okay.
Davis said there isn't one.
Oh,
So I'd
okay.
like any clarification on that if that's not.
Okay, well, he's an air quality engineer. So,
Who is George Davis?
an air quality engineer who's among our
At
permit
DEQ?
regs. Yes.
And so to clarify, if there's no standard, but you still think it could be potentially 10 times higher? I mean, is that just
That was the
different
benchmark. That was the
That's the
benchmark
benchmark. We
concentration.
don't know,
Benchmark
no.
okay.
We take this action because of the uncertainty, and when we have the data, that will inform future decisions and direction and
Are you
action.
concerned about lawsuits?
Are we?
Yeah.
About what, please? I didn't hear.
Lawsuits. I'm sorry, are you concerned
Lawsuits.
about lawsuits?
Well, sure, but not that they would influence our decision-making. I mean, we would want to make sure we're on solid legal ground and we're not making decisions capriciously or arbitrarily. But certainly, lawsuits that's of concern, sure. But I don't think, it isn't an exclusive driver.
Can I come back to one point? You said that there is some potential route that is available to you all to address these using the legal system. To date, DEQ has really thrown its hands up on this point and said, there's nothing that we can do. And so what is available to the agency and what has changed in your understanding of that?
Currently, our current permitting program doesn't allow for this type of to address this type of localized air toxics. What's changing, I guess I would use a continuum, is this type of data that we're getting, which is, again, very new, where we have much more conclusive information that would inform perhaps the adoption of a state program like California or Washington. I'm not committing to that. It's something that can be explored. It's something that we can discuss in a broad stakeholder group. I think it's not just one agency. Multnomah County Health, Oregon Health Authority, DEQ are not going to be the exclusive decision makers. We have lots of different stakeholders that we work with in the regulatory environment that would need to be involved in this conversation.
So you're saying that currently there is no remedy available in law to DEQ to answer to the neighbors of this facility or these facilities who want to see it closed immediately? There's nothing.
I wouldn't say there's nothing. What I said was the current permitting program generally doesn't have a way to address these kinds of localized concerns.
Sure.
I think
hear
more
you saying
exploration.
We could change state law if we wanted to,
Yeah.
if everybody got behind it, but today, as we sit here, and that discussion is weeks away, is there any remedy that's available to the agency?
we would need to consult legal counsel to give you a more definitive answer, Rob, and all of you.
Okay.
Have there ever been regulations of like how often we check air quality in Portland or Oregon as a whole? And what do you know offhand? Sorry, what those are?
Well, I'll tell you,
How
I
often we do it?
can answer that generally. So for the criteria pollutants that I talked about where there are federal standards, there are very strict EPA and U.S. Environmental Protection Agency protocols. Like you can't go over a certain limit, and then you have to take a certain number of samples in a 24-hour period, and each pollutant has its own protocol for how it's selected. It's every third day. You have to sample year-round to determine differences in seasons, in wind patterns, in meteorology. So each of the pollutants has its own what's called a national reference method, NFR. And so each of those pollutants have, for air toxics, we're in the arena where we're implementing these and trying to capture this information without the benefit of a federal standard method.
So the Northwest Regional Administrator.
Hang on one second. I'll take this and then I'll come back to you, Dan.
So, all of these pollutants are things, heavy metals, basically, is what we're talking
Mhm.
about. They're all things that just, to the average person, sound really horrible.
Mhm.
And are like pretty commonly believed to or known to increase the risk of cancer. Why isn't there and we've just heard there's no standard potentially
Correct.
for chromium? Why? That just seems crazy. Why isn't there a standard, either federal or the state level?
Right. I can't answer that.
Is there like a historical reason, or?
I don't know. I don't know, as part of ATSAC, is that anything, as you guys were looking at benchmarks, was that something that was discussed as you guys look at the health
I
faith
feel
goals?
like that's just
Yeah.
one of the fundamental things people are really confused
Yeah.
about. So
Right.
I'm confused.
Yeah.
So let me make sure I got the quote. Let me make sure I got the quote correct.
Okay.
The Northwest Regional Administrator for DEQ just stated to us she will have to consult with legal counsel before answering the question, does DEQ have anything beyond moral suasion? Does DEQ have any legal authority to shut down aspects of it? You, as the administrator, have to consult with legal counsel.
Yes.
Did you not feel the need to consult with legal counsel in the last 2 weeks on this matter?
We felt that based on the uncertainty, we wanted to take an approach to ask the companies to voluntarily
No, I'm saying,
suspend.
why do you, as the administrator, not know what your authority is?
Because in every situation, it could be different depending on the source, depending on the regs that govern what the issues are, and it would not be prudent for me to as an individual in administrative capacity to do that without consulting with our legal counsel.
It's not prudent for you to know, as of this time, 2 weeks into this, what your legal options are?
That's correct. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't have that level of expertise, Dan. I do not.
Okay, thank you guys, appreciate it.